Hi, my name is Sammy Margo and I'm a sleep expert for Sleepeezee. Today I'm joined by the Sleepeezee brand ambassador, Olympic champion and 3 times world champion, Dame Jessica Ennis-Hill. Hi Jessica, really nice to meet you.
Hi Sammy, how are you?
Really well, really nice to meet you. Are you ready to cover a whole bunch of things related to sleep in a real quick fire question and answer kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I love my sleep, so happy to talk everything sleep.
Great, that's wonderful. So, Jessica, my first question to you is, are you a morning lark or a night owl?
So that's quite a difficult question for me because I am not great with early mornings. Since having kids, I've adapted and become quite good and on it in the morning. But I do like a lie-in, which I haven't had for many years now. And also, I do like to go to bed quite early as well. So I think just to sum it up, I love my sleep. You know, I like to be in bed for as long as possible. But like I said, having children has changed the way my whole sleep routine has transformed really. You know, nights are disturbed and mornings are often very early. So I would say over the years I've probably become more of a morning person, just through adapting with having young children and those early mornings.
Yeah, and I think that really is the pattern that many of us tend to be more night owls. And when we have kids, we have to completely change our rhythm and routine to become more larks. And that can be quite tricky for some of us that like to sleep in. But the old wives' tale of an hour before 12 is worth 2 after 12 stands really, really strong. And it's really important to even encourage your kids to get into bed before early into the evening, because you get that deep restorative sleep that's really important for general health and well-being.
So could I ask you a quick question? Obviously you are the expert in this field, and I'd love to know what your top tips are to enable you to have a really great night's sleep.
So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do to have a really great night's sleep, ranging from making sure that you set time aside in your daily routine for a bedtime routine, a bit like what we do with our kids. So wind down time, a nice warm bath, listen to an audiobook, have a hot milky drink or chamomile tea, and gradually dim the lights and go into sleep. That's what we do for our kids. And I think as adults, we've forgotten how to be kids. We've forgotten how you're meant to get into your sleep. And we need to remind ourselves that not only are we setting our kids up with a good bedtime routine, we need to do it for ourselves. But in addition to that, some people really struggle to get off to sleep. So it's really worth thinking about listening to an audiobook or even the Sleepeezee Spotify playlist, which is great too to get you off to sleep, some meditation, perhaps reading a book, or just lots of different techniques that you can do to distract your mind to get off to sleep.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think having that routine, you know, we do often forget that we, put our children in these fantastic routines and we're really, regimented with them to make sure they have the best night's sleep, but we often neglect our routine.
I think it's really important to remember that as humans, we're not on-off switches. We're dimmer switches, and we need time to unwind and we need time to rev up. So just like we've got our kids into that habit, both you and I with our kids, we've got to actually get ourselves back into the habit, even though we're just a little bit too busy to do that. Why is sleep important to you? And how does having a good night's sleep affect your athletic performance? So I'm really interested in this.
Yeah, I think sleep is a huge part of everybody's life anyway. But I think when you're a sports person, you perform on the track and you compete, week in, week out. But actually a massive part of the way you perform and how you recover from sessions and how you allow your muscles to adapt and, avoid injuries is all down to how much sleep and rest your body's getting. So for me, when I was training full time, I'd have quite a strict training schedule where I trained twice a day most days. I'd always have a rest day where I try and recover as much as I could. And I'd often have, like children do, a nap at lunchtime.
Right.
So I would train in the morning, have quite a heavy session in the morning, and then I'd come home and I'd have a lunchtime nap and then do another session in the afternoon. And, you know, I really, through those years, really understood how important sleep was in allowing me to be able to train, you know, at the absolute peak performance. And then going on post athletics into the next phase of my career and having children, obviously sleep changed again for me. So no more daytime naps, which I noticed a big impact on, you know, just how you feel generally. And then going to sleepless nights as well. So having a newborn and toddlers, you know, as you know, you're up through the night and your body has to adapt and change. And it makes you really realise the importance of sleep and how it has a massive impact on every part of your life, your mood, your energy levels, how you respond in every situation during the day. So yeah, those two areas of my life have taught me how, you know, how important sleep is and how it affects you in so many ways.
Yeah, and it's true. Humans love rhythm and routine, and sleep can make a complete huge difference to how you feel, how you look, your weight, your performance at sport, in work, in your love life, in your personal life, with your kids. It affects every part of our lives.
We've all been in a very bizarre time for the past few months, and you know, this lockdown feeling where we've been in our houses so much and we've not been able to socialise and do our daily routine has been really strange. And I think that I've definitely noticed that it's affected my sleep, and I've definitely noticed that I've been on my phone constantly. And although that's a great thing because we've been able to keep in contact with our friends and our family and our loved ones, it's also got a negative side to it. And do you think that technology and the amount of time that we spend on our phones does have a negative impact on our sleep?
It totally does. So technology has a huge effect on the impact of our sleep. We do know for sure that the emission of the blue light that you get out of your smartphone, out of televisions, out of computers, has an impact on the release of your sleepy hormone melatonin. And that's the hormone that allows you to get off and have that deep restorative quality sleep. Unfortunately, during lockdown, it's the only thing that we've had. We haven't been able to engage with our loved ones, our parents, our kids, whatever, our friends. So that's all we've had. So I think we've been using it far more than usual. But I think that it's quite important to implement a technology cut-off time in your life. So make sure that at a certain time of day you say to yourself, at 9 o'clock, I'm not going to look at my phone, I'm not going to look at my computer, I'm not going to watch the television, because you need to allow your body time to restore and recover and repair. And by using those devices, you are impacting on the quality and quantity of your sleep, and that will affect how you look and how you feel.
And I think that's been one of the hardest things, hasn't it? We've all adapted the way we work. So we're all working from our kitchens, our living rooms, our offices, if we have one. And life is kind of blurred into one kind of grey area where, you know, we end up working till 10 o'clock at night because we are in our office, because it's in our living room, or we're just constantly checking emails because we can, because we're at home all the time, and not doing our daily things. I know that one thing that I've tried to do is, like you say, put my phone upstairs when it gets to 7 o'clock in the evening and the kids are in bed, and just try not to touch it, because a lot of that is habit, isn't it? It's just that habit of reaching for our phone and just scrolling, and it can be quite dangerous, like for your mental health, and also, like you say, to allow you to shut off and have proper rest.
Yeah, and I think we need to spend some time doing other things apart from looking at our phone, speaking to each other, reading, just doing other things, not constantly relying on the phone the whole time. So I think it's really important to implement this technology cut-off time, like you said, putting the phone upstairs or deciding not to use the phone. And also think about the example that we're setting for our children. We're kind of hooked on it, and then how can we tell them to get off it when we're constantly hooked on it as well? So I just think that we have to understand the value of it, how great it's been. We can have this interview because of technology during COVID, and ordinarily we would meet up, but because we can't meet up, we're doing this. So technology has got some fantastic positive things, but I think the impact that it has on our sleep and our general health is not great. So we need to use the positive side of technology.
And I know Sleepeezee commissioned a survey that found that 63% of adults leave their phone next to their beds. Do you find yourself reaching for your phone first thing in the morning or last thing at night, or are you very focused and very strict when it comes
Well,
to?
as a sleep expert, I'm incredibly disciplined because just like you, I know the impact that it has on my general health, my well-being. I'm still working as a physio and a sleep expert. I'm still training as well. So I know the impact that a good night's sleep has on how I feel and how I look. So I'm unbelievably disciplined. I set myself a technology cut-off time. Even set myself an argument cut-off time. I set myself a regular bedtime rhythm and routine. I really believe that sticking to the same routine and rhythm and respecting your sleep hygiene, as well as thinking about a whole bunch of things that we're going to discuss, like the mattress, the bed, the bedroom, how you're organising your whole sleep hygiene, is critical to your general health and well-being. So Jessica, we're both mums. How old are your kids now?
So my daughter's about to turn 3, can't believe it. And my son is 6 now.
Wow, how lovely. I've got a 13-year-old, so that's starting to be lots of fun. I'm out of the sleepless nights now, but I'm into a different phase in the universe.
Teenage years. Oh.
So, having had a fabulous career in athletics, then becoming a mother, I was really interested to find out how you found sleeping during pregnancy. Did you feel like you were sleeping more or less during the day and night? How did you find it?
I think very different through both pregnancies. So with my first Reggie, my son, I was still, focused on exercising through my pregnancy, and I was very focused on coming back to continue competing. So I think exercising really helped me sleep. So I didn't find that I was, having those restless nights so much. And I kind of felt that I had a bit more time to take for myself because I didn't have a toddler running around like, I was going to be a mum for the first time. So I had the luxury of, really taking care of myself and having those moments where I could, get extra sleep. Towards the end, I think everyone who, is in those last few weeks of pregnancy, it's often very hard, and the weather was really hot when I was pregnant with Reggie towards the end, and I did feel that affected my sleep, and you're just very uncomfortable and very restless at that stage and very anxious and just wanting your baby to be here. And then with Olivia, it was completely different. I obviously had Reggie, who was a toddler and, needed a lot of attention and time. So sleep was very, very different through my second pregnancy. And I did find it definitely more difficult to sleep through those stages.
Yeah, and it's interesting because people do have different pregnancies. So it's not one size fits all, but I'd say normally towards the third trimester, people seem to be a lot more uncomfortable, and also they're getting ready for motherhood, so they're being warned about the future sleepless nights to come. But obviously for both of us, it's been the most amazing thing. It's something that we wouldn't not want to do, but it doesn't come with a bit of sleep deprivation. I always say it's a bit like hair. You just get used to not washing your hair. Get used to not getting so much sleep as a mother, don't you?
It's such a strange thing because obviously being a full-time athlete, I'd train very hard, I'd be very disciplined, feel that I'd, break my body down every day and then, bounce back. And before I had children, I didn't really have any idea of the impact that it would have on every part of your body, how you would feel physically and mentally, and how it would affect sleep. And I think until you step into that zone of being a mother or a father for the first time, it's kind of a big eye-opener as to firstly, how amazing your body is and what it can do. Yeah, and then how it adapts, like you say, before I had Reggie, someone said to me, you'd be sleeping on 2 hours, 2 hours sleep here and there, and if you had 4 hours solid sleep, you'd feel amazing. I would say absolutely no way I could not, respond off that little sleep, but your body does adapt, and you get used to it.
Yeah, and mine was a bit different because I was a mature mother, so I had a kid when I was 14, which was very, very late, particularly to those of you that are checking in at the moment. So physically, I was amazingly fit, and I actually found the pregnancy absolutely fine, easy to manage, but those sleepless nights after were really challenging, particularly because I was also working at the same time.
Mm.
But you get through them somehow, and it's the most amazing thing anyway. So we all survive, don't we?
We survive, and we appreciate sleep so much more now. So, Sammy, I think a lot of people find it really daunting when they're trying to find a mattress or a new mattress, because there's so many different types of mattresses out there. Do you have any advice for someone who is looking to try and find their perfect mattress?
So finding the mattress of your dreams is always a challenge. It's such a considered purchase, and it's really important to think about a few things. The ultimate thing that you really need to think about is this balance between comfort and support, because you want to be comfortable. It's very important to get a good night's sleep, but you also need to be well supported. So you have to think about things like, what position do you sleep in, what weight are you, what's the weight of your partner, what position does he or she sleep in, and what's your budget. One thing that Sleepeezee has got that's really helpful is this firmness guide on their website. So that looks at supporting sleeping positions, which is really insightful, especially if you're sharing a bed with a partner who's got a different sleeping position to you. So that's definitely worth checking out. There's lots and lots of different factors to look at, but the most important thing that I think that you really need to think about is this marriage of comfort and support. If you've stayed at one of your friends' houses, maybe for a weekend, and you've had a great night's sleep, check out what bed you've slept on. If you've stayed in a hotel, check out what bed you've slept on. But I think it's definitely worth looking at this Sleepeezee website just to see lots of different options that you can get a feel for what you need to do.
And as a physio, do you find that the wrong mattress can have a massive impact on your sleeping positions and how you ultimately sleep?
Absolutely, definitely. As a physio, so many patients come to me with neck pain and back pain because the mattress is too old, too knackered, or inappropriate for them. If your bed is more than 8 years old, it would have deteriorated by 75%. So, for example, if you're an hourglass-shaped woman and you sleep on your side and your bed is too soft, you're going to end up being shaped like a banana. And, if you spend 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours in a banana position, you're going to strain your back. So you really need to think about getting a new mattress. If you sleep on your front and your bed's too soft, you may well hurt your low back. So I do strongly suggest that getting a new mattress, it can completely change your life. If you get a new mattress, you'll be comfortable, you get a good night's sleep. And research has shown that you can even increase the quality and quantity of sleep by having a new mattress. So I think it's definitely a worthwhile investment.
I think we often get used to these really bad habits, don't we? And you get used to them, and until they've been corrected, you don't realise how bad, for example, your sleeping position has been until you actually find the mattress and the firmness and everything that's right for you, and then you realise that position that you've been in for how many years has set you up physically and posturally in a really bad position.
It's good to note that Sleepeezee has a wide range of mattresses, because really it's important to find the perfect sleep solution that works for you. So Jessica, I want to talk to you about something that's quite close to my heart, which is all about jet lag. So did you find that you were heavily affected by jet lag whilst you were travelling for sporting events? And if so, how did you get through it?
Yeah, jet lag is a very important part of performance when you're an elite athlete. And for us as a team, we always had a very clear strategy on how we were going to get over jet lag. So depending on what place we were traveling to, where in the world, we'd make sure that we had a very regimented plan, from as soon as we got to the airport, what time you would eat. You get on the plane, you put your eye mask on, however long you were traveling. It was all a very, very strict routine of making sure that you started this process before you stepped on the plane. So then when you arrived at your destination, you'd already put this plan in place and get used to a new time zone. And it has a massive, massive effect on your performance. So we'd make sure that we travelled to our destinations within enough time to allow that hour per day to adapt to, the new time zone. Because if you perform, if you get to, your competition and your legs and your mind is still jet lagged and you're on a different time, then obviously that has a massive, massive impact on your physical performance. So it's a very, very important strategy that we always had in place to make sure that we were very prepared for, the time zone and the difference and the climate as well, to make sure that I could compete at my absolute best.
That's so interesting. And just out of interest, on a point of interest, when you won, had you had a good night's sleep? That's what I want to know.
It varied from competition to competition, but I would say in London, at the London Olympics, I think I had a pretty good night's sleep before the first day of my competition, and then the time between the 2 days is often a very difficult time where your adrenaline's going from your performance on the first day, you're physically and mentally tired from exerting yourself over the whole day of the competition, and then you're very conscious that you have to get some really good sleep because you've got to perform again the following day, and that's where the medals won. Sleep is very important between those 2 days, but it is very hard to kind of tell yourself to go to sleep when you're on the brink of winning an Olympic gold medal. So it can often be quite hard. Okay, so do you have any great tips on making your bedroom into a sleep haven? Obviously, the environment that we sleep in is really important to allow us to have a great night's sleep. And so how would you, recommend creating this environment? What tips would you give to us?
So the ideal bedroom environment needs to be cool, that's 16 to 18 degrees centigrade, dark, blackout blinds or eye mask, quiet, it needs to be uncluttered, and a safe haven for sleep. That's really quite simple to do. So think about the lighting. If you've got harsh lighting, you might need blackout blinds. The other thing that you have to really think about is the mattress. This is critical. So even contemplating getting a temperature sensitive mattress, it's so great that Sleepeezee has got mattresses such as the G Memory mattress and the Cooler Supreme. So these mattresses can actually regulate your temperature, and that's really important to get a good night's sleep, because you need to be cool in order to release your sleepy hormone, melatonin. If you're overheated or going through the change in life or just a bit hot-headed, this will really impact on the quality and quantity of your sleep. So temperature for me is really, really important. So cool, dark, quiet, spacious, nice sheets, nice pillows. Make sure you change your pillows. Consider the fragrance. Lavender's fantastic. So scented diffusers can create a lovely sleep environment. You can use this for your kids as well, and that'll help your senses recognize this sleepy environment. It's been used for years and years, and loads of research is out there to back up the beneficial uses of stuff like lavender to help you get a good night's sleep.
That's great. I think so many people find that so helpful, just to try and create a routine and an environment that will really help aid their sleep.
So even stuff like noise, you've got to think about noise as well. So what we do know is that noise pollution can impact on your sleep. Although I will say that people that grow up in cities like a bit of background noise, whereas people that grow up in the country, they prefer the quiet background noise. I grew up on a really busy road, so I like a bit of background noise going on. So fridge noises, fans, apps, I quite like those sorts of things. But if it is too noisy, so say for example you live over a pedestrian crossing, maybe move your bedroom to the back, or your bedroom to the back of the flat or the house if you can. And at the moment it's really fashionable to unclutter your bedroom. I think Maria Kondo's got under all of our skin. So having an uncluttered bedroom, so we've got a real safe haven and a calm, beautiful place where we can rest our weary heads.
I think that's very true. I'm absolutely that person where I have to have the room clear, and even from a teenager and a child, I remember I always had to have my room tidy to allow me to, have that good quality sleep. So I think that's a really, really valid point.
And it's funny, my 13-year-old, he's got a thing about he can't go to sleep when the cupboards are open. Some kids actually say they can't go to sleep when the blinds aren't fully flat because they see zigzaggy dragon's teeth on the ceiling. So I think we have to almost recognise also for our kids the bedroom environment really impacts on their imagination, how they feel, and affects the quality of their sleep as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Jessica, tell me something. When you're not training or working on your app or being a busy working mum, what would you say is the best way to spend a rest day or a chilled day of minimal exercising? Does this involve a lie-in or not?
Those days are few and beyond, to be honest. I love to have, time where I can completely switch off. And if I'm honest, those days where I do have time to myself to just have a bit of downtime, I do like to do exercise, because it gives me that headspace to completely switch off from every area of my life and how busy life can be. And I also love that physical feeling of exercising, and the endorphins that you release when you exercise. So I would probably on a chilled day still do some form of exercise, whether it's high intensity or low level. But I do, to have a lie-in, to have a bit of extra time, a bit of extra rest in bed is something that I'm always keen to do. I think our lives are so hectic and busy in every way, and I think to have those opportunities where you can crave a little bit of extra sleep and have some more time in bed to allow your body and your mind to rest and recover from what you do on a daily basis is really important. So for me, those days are definitely important, to find time to squeeze those chilled moments in. This has been so interesting, so thank you so much, Sammy. But on to our last question. How do you maintain a positive outlook on your sleep, and do you ever have a bad night's sleep?
For me, as a sleep expert and a physio, sleep is really important. It affects me in so many ways. So of course I have the odd bad night's sleep. If I get stressed, or if I'm anxious, or if I'm too busy, or I'm worried about my son, that's perfectly normal. And sometimes if I'm having a bad night's sleep, I just lie in bed and think to myself, at least I'm having a rest. At least I'm chilling out. I can always catch up with my sleep. That's absolutely fine. It happens to the best and the worst of us. It's quite a normal thing to do. But generally speaking, I'm really good at rhythm and routine and having a very regimented day and sticking to the same system, which is up at the same time, to bed at the same time. If I'm tired, I go to bed early. And I just make sure, like you, that I exercise every single day, particularly in the morning. It's very important to exercise in the morning, because if you exercise too close to bedtime, you can overheat, and that will impact on the release of your sleepy hormone, melatonin. And make sure that I eat healthily and maintain a really good, healthy and positive outlook. But I think for me, sleep is critical to everything.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so great to talk to you and get all your advice and your tips on how so many of us can learn how to create the right environment and aid our sleep in the best possible way. So it's been really interesting.
Yeah, and Jessica, it's been so interesting to meet you and hear about your different stages of your career, be it your athletic career and as motherhood, and always good to know that you got a really good night's sleep on the day that you won. On the days you won. Really good to know, really, really important for us to know. And also in motherhood, to understand that obviously your whole sleep routine has gone from being more of a night owl to being more of a sleep deprived mum, which is for all of us. But obviously as time goes by, as has happened to me, I'm a bit less sleep deprived and more, and obviously because I'm moving into a different stage in my life, more aware of the importance of sleep for me. But before we go, I have to say that with Sleepeezee, you can sleep well knowing your mattress has come from the right place. And the other thing that I wanted to say, that it's been so interesting to learn about your life and what you're up to now and what you're doing, and the impact of sleep on everything. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today.
Oh, thank you.